once we start officially the meeting, which we have not.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, we got Nicole. Awesome.
Okay. Awesome. Sweet.
Sorry, I'm late. I just had back-to-back meetings tonight.
No problem. Welcome. Good. Well, we have quorum, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. I am going to put our agenda for tonight in the chat.
Beautiful.
And the first order of business is approving the minutes from the previous board meeting. And if someone could help me with putting those in the chat, if you have them readily available and or on the screen.
Let me get to the chat and I can put that link in as well. Perfect.
Sorry, I beat you to it.
There we go. Let me close that chat quick.
So these have been posted on our,
Oh, Sabina,
hopefully people have had a chance to review them. If not, we can go. Oh, am I back now?
yeah, you're good.
Okay. So these have been again, and hopefully folks have had a chance to review them. If not, we can also go through them right now. They're up on your screen as well as linked in your chat. I've had a chance to review them. So I move that we approve the minutes from the February board meeting, February 2021 board meeting.
I second that motion.
Okay, second by Jennifer, thank you.
Is there anything anyone specifically wants to review in here? Thanks, Morgan, for being so detailed on this.
Yeah, I know that's a lot of work, so I also thank Morgan for doing that.
Yeah, and it looks like everything is captured, including some really robust discussion about the letter. So I really appreciate that. Does anyone have any comments, or should we commence a vote?
If there are no comments or requested changes, I'm going to call to vote. Yeah, so please vote yes or approve in the chat if you are in support, or no if you're against, or abstain if you're abstaining.
Yes, for me, I'm driving, so.
Perfect,
Yeah.
that can be noted. Thank you, Jason. And yes, for me as well. Jennifer, did you vote? Or are you abstaining? And if so, please indicate.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. I say yes.
Okay. So motion passes unanimously, 10 yeses. So now these will be posted on our website. Thank you so much, Morgan. And everyone else. Next order of business is to set the agenda for upcoming general membership meeting. Does anyone have any items, or has anyone received any requests for a general membership meeting?
There was an item from a developer. Let me find his name. It was the same guy that was supposed to come last time and then didn't make it.
I think he's actually sending his architect to come
Okay.
answer questions, and I have to look up his name again. I do apologize.
Here, I've got it open. Mac
Yeah.
Runk.
Mhm.
I'll put it in the chat.
And do you know what Matt wanted, or Max, sorry, wanted to present?
So they
Or how
have,
much time they might like?
I am not sure on how much time. I don't know, Jennifer, if you've talked to them more recently.
Well, my impression is that they didn't really want to present anything. They just want to be available for any questions.
Perfect.
I'd bring that item up, I guess, at the meeting, introduce them, and then let folks have their, if they have any questions for the development.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else?
So maybe 5 to, it depends on, 5-10 minutes
Okay.
at the most.
Is there a way that we can, in our agenda, maybe attach the plans or more information, so that way people would have a reference to be able to know what they're asking questions about? Because it might just be silence if we're just questions are open, but people don't realize what this is about.
Yeah, they did send us a description and plans as well. Or photos,
Okay.
I guess.
If we note that in, then I can add it to the announcement and to the newsletter. Anything else? I think maybe having a more robust discussion again about the Lens monuments again and new developments with that. I think it'd be good to update the membership and kind of just have a more robust discussion in light of everything that we know and the PG bills and the repairs at the monument on Foster and 90th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think we'll also have a communications committee update since we do have that committee meeting on Saturday that's open with the agenda posted for folks that are interested in joining.
Okay, so committee updates. Anything else?
Do we think we'll have a more substantial finance update at that point that we, for the year end, or are we looking at next month for that?
Yes, I'm actually finishing it up now. So I'm actively working on it while I'm on the call. So
awesome. Yeah, maybe we could have more of a end of year update rather than just the monthly, and leave a little bit more time if you think you'll be ready for that, or if you think that's a good thing to talk about.
yes, that's a good thing to talk about. Again, there are some things that I just don't have access to that I'm still searching and looking for, and it's mostly due with meeting minutes and approvals and votes and things like that. But other than that, I'm pretty open to exactly what's going on.
Okay. Okay. Maybe because we've been talking about organizing a cleanup, so maybe that can be a topic of discussion with the community too.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
open for
thinking.
that. Oh, sorry, Jennifer.
No, go ahead, Jean. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'd be in support of that. I think it would be good to get community buy-in. I think it would be definitely very beneficial for folks.
Are we going to talk about? I don't know if we talk about this at the general meeting, but the funds that are available to neighborhood associations.
Yeah, so you talk about the community activities fund.
Yep.
Yep, here it is. So I wanted to apply for, we're limited to $500 per fiscal year per group. And it seems to be a first come, first serve. So sooner the better. If nothing else, I wanted to apply for reimbursement with some of our costs from this year, like paying for the Zoom membership.
Sabina, you froze.
What's that?
You froze.
Oh, can you hear me now?
You heard reimbursement for Zoom membership, and that's
Yeah.
what you froze.
That's basically all I said. Yeah, I said so we're limited to 500. If we wanted to apply, for for an activity that's cleanup related, we can certainly do that too, because it can go towards community building. At least that's my understanding. And I was saying, if not, if we don't, then I would at the very least apply for reimbursement with Zoom, so with our Zoom membership, because that's something that can be covered. Also, interpreter costs, that's also something we've incurred. Morgan.
You've got it.
Okay, I'm sorry. 2 devices every time. I wanted to just mention that our DreamHost bill is going to be coming to be renewed. I sent the email notification to Gerald, so he's aware of it, but it looks like we're on an automatic renewal, and that's 39, 32, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but so that's coming up like in the next week. So just a heads up on that.
Is that something we need? Oh, sorry, Nicole.
Oh, I kind of raised my hand right at the time you started talking. Sorry, Jean. Is there a worry that we won't get the funds? Because do we need to make a proposal that is I just feel like a proposal that's we're going to do a community cleanup might be more like a community cleanup and help us, cover some of these costs could be received a little bit better than just oh, we need you to cover costs from last year. I'm just curious if, in grant writing, is there a reason to make a sort of more, I don't know, exciting application?
Based on what I'm reading, not necessarily. It seems like really they're first come, first serve. They listed kind of what are the eligible, that it's kind of until the money runs out, They've listed some of the eligible expenses, and it seems like, Zoom interpreters, promotional stuff, which those are all costs that we've incurred, would qualify. So I don't know. I kind of want to apply to cover some of the costs that we've incurred, so that we make sure we cover some of the money, and then maybe if it won't be the full 500, might be a couple of hundred, and then we can still, if we want, after the general membership meeting, or when we have a plan ironed out for a cleanup, to apply for the remaining. Or we could not apply for anything for this and just wait for the cleanup. Does anyone have any preference? If not, I'll make a motion. But
I think we should apply for the funds that the stuff that the cost that we incurred, to get reimbursed for that, because from my understanding, we can do that. And then also ask for additional funding for a cleanup or another activity that we might think might be helpful for bringing the community together. Because I do also want to talk about, there's other grants out there that we could do for a cleanup.
okay, great. So in the interest of time, I'm going to
Katie has her hand up.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry, I didn't see that. Okay,
Oh, actually, no, Jennifer actually just answered my question with her comment, so.
that's great. So I move that we apply, and by we, I'm volunteering myself to do it, but certainly anyone else could, or if they want to help, that we apply for the Community Activities Fund to cover our recent costs for the Zoom membership, the Dream Host, and promotional materials and interpreter. I can do that tomorrow. Seconded by Katie. If there are no comments, in the interest of time, I say let's call to vote. So type yes if you're in support of me applying for this for money to come to the LNA. No if you don't, or abstain. Jean and Jason. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, so the motion passes unanimously. So motion carries. Sorry, I got distracted by a comment in the chat. I will submit an application by the end of this week, hopefully tomorrow, so that we can get it in there and recover some of our costs. Thanks, everyone. And with that, let me see what's the last item that we have is Katie, did you want to make a proposal for the formation of a new committee at this time, or do you need more time?
I can do it now. It's super quick because I pretty much went over everything in that email that I sent. I'm still, I don't know. I don't have a name yet. Suggestions are open because obviously we can't call it a livability committee anymore. But pretty much the community just wants to do things like street cleanups and Adopt a Block. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that organization. There are a lot of people in Lens who've already joined Adopt a Block. But they would like to get the word out. The biggest hurdle with Adopt a Block is the bi-weekly trash schedule. So people who are doing this currently on their own are having a really hard time disposing of the trash that they are collecting on our streets. So that could be something that this new committee could help with. Planning things like recycling events, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a lot of interest in people and community members who want to join a committee to help plan these things. So if everybody is, if nobody has any questions, we could put forth a motion.
I have a question, Katie.
Sure.
Is it going to be strictly like cleanup? Because like livability, what some people think of livability goes beyond cleanup. So if it's cleanup, it could be something as simple as the cleanup committee, but I don't know if it's going to extend beyond just cleanup. So I'd be interested to know, what the intention is there.
So other people have brought up suggestions about doing more tree plantings and more community garden formations, and more just like general things like that. So it wouldn't just be cleanup. It would pretty much, from what I'm gathering from the interested community members, they want to do things to make our neighborhood visibly nicer, which includes cleanups, tree plantings, with groups like Friends of Trees, and gardening projects like flower beds, public flower beds, and things of that nature.
So I guess Nicole put in the chat beautification. I was kind of thinking something similar, like the Lens Improvement Committee, or maybe that sounds a little too mechanical, but I definitely think having like a very clear mission statement is helpful. And then Morgan wrote, if we can write the motion in the chat for the minutes, that makes it much easier to track.
Yeah, I actually started typing a motion, so help me add to it maybe. I said motion to form a new committee focused on, sorry, 1 second, because I made a mistake. Okay, so motion to form a new LNA committee focused on organizing community improvement activities such as street cleanups, adopt a block, tree plantings, community garden formations, recycling events, and so on, with Katie as liaison, right? Because you said you don't want to chair it, or do you want to be the chair, Katie?
I would prefer not to chair it, but I would definitely, I'd rather see a community member chair it, but I'm happy to be the board liaison. I want to give people who are interested from outside the board ownership of this committee.
Okay. Anything else you want in this motion?
No, that sounds great.
Okay. And the folks who are interested in being on it, Katie, understand that this is, that anyone can kind of be on this committee because it's a public, right? Because it's through the LNA and all that is fine.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Oh, it seems like you maybe have a group of people who are interested, and I would just was asking if that we are on the same page, that this is going to be an open, a public committee and anyone can join, right? Because,
Absolutely, just like any other LNA committee.
okay, so I put it in the chat. And that's the motion from Katie, right? So I'll second it. Oh, to be named at a later date.
We could say that, or Nicole's idea of beautification committee is fine with me. I like that.
Community improvement or community beautification. Maybe the committee can decide that on their first meeting.
That sounds great.
Yeah, so just as the liaison, Katie, like just let me know once decide on a meeting so that we can announce it and promote it and stuff.
Absolutely.
So we're voting in the chat now. Let's see who hasn't voted. Jason, have you voted? Jason, can you hear me? I don't think.
Since he was driving,
Your vote gets counted.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so we have, feel free to double check me, everyone, but I believe we have 7 yeses and 1 abstention. Jennifer noted her abstention being that she may have a future conflict of interest.
Yeah, only because I might want to fund something like that for the LNA. And so I just don't want it to be a conflict of interest for that particular, so. Okay.
Well, motion carries. So congratulations to the new committee. And we look forward to their contributions. And thank you, Katie, for all your work on this. Cool. Well, with that, at this point, we have ended the public portion of our meeting tonight, and I am going to make a motion to begin our executive session for the consideration of current grievances. This is pursuant to the ONI Standards Article 5, Section D2, which allows us to meet an executive session to deliberate towards a decision on consideration of grievances. And this is a, you know, a new, I think it's the first time we've had to do something. We've done an executive session during a Zoom session, so it's new to all of us. And the way we plan to do it is we will put in a waiting room folks who are not on the board, and then when we are ready to return to the public meeting, we will let folks back in. Please bear with me while I read some notes that might answer questions that folks have. So the Neighborhood Association, the Lens Neighborhood Association Board will now meet in executive session pursuant the ONI Standards Article 5, Section D2, which allows the board to meet in executive session to deliberate towards a decision on consideration of grievances. Representatives of the news media and designated individuals are allowed to attend the executive session. All other individuals will be placed in a waiting room. So digital waiting room. Any information revealed in executive session is considered privileged and may not be reported. Representatives of the news media specifically are directed not to record, report on, or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in the executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome people back into the room. Minutes will be taken during the executive session. They will be filed in a separate location from the regular LNA meeting minutes, and they are not subject to a public records request. So
I'm sorry, really quick. And then as Morgan mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we typically, as we're doing right now, are recording this meeting. So for the executive session, we will pause the recording, and the recording will not be restarted until after we open back up into the public forum.
yes, so let's see, is there anything anything that I haven't covered? I'm gonna make a motion at this point. I move that we switch to an executive session to deliberate on grievances.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Jean. I will put it in the chat.
Robert, we do see your comment about joining as a member of the press. Unfortunately, as you're one of the grievances being deliberated, we can't actually have you in that meeting in that capacity, since it would be a conflict of interest between the deliberation to address your concerns and grievances as an individual.
So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Who's logged in as owner? This is a board meeting, so right now board members can vote. But as a member of our membership, I think you came in right as Sabina was explaining the executive session. We're going to put people in a waiting room who are not on the board, and then we'll admit everyone after the deliberations and the executive session closes.
Is that me? I don't know what my name says.
Okay.
It's Jason.
Okay.
Hi.
So weird.
I think I can actually rename you, Jason, so hold on. There we go.
Yeah, I had to do a complete start from fresh on my computer, so everything is.
So
Right,
to
yeah.
clarify again the digital process, and while I do that, please vote. If you haven't voted yet, the motion is in the chat. If you're a board member, please vote. To clarify the digital process for this, we're moving into an executive session. So primarily board members are allowed. Anyone who isn't, we will be placing you in the waiting room. And the way it will look is the same when you are attempting to join the meeting, where you're waiting for someone to let you in. So everyone who is present and who would like to return once we come back from the executive session, once we're doing our voting, You just need to stand by online, and then we will admit everyone back in when we're ready to do the voting. I don't know exactly how long it will take, but yeah. So it's kind of up to you if you want to wait or not. Robert, your comment is out of order. So if you wish to, be a part of these meetings, please be respectful, or we will have to remove you. We are, as I named, what's named in the ONI standards, this is one of the reasons that allows us to have executive sessions. And it will last, I don't know exactly how long it will last. It's kind of hard to say, 30 to 45 minutes, I would estimate. I do not wish to address you, Robert, because that's not what these sessions are for.
All right. So to go back to the motion.
That's,
Oh, sorry.
So yeah, at this point, let's count the votes, please. We have 1 abstention, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yeses. Yeah, 7 yeses and 1 abstention. Motion carries. So right now we are moving into executive session. So Morgan, I'm going to ask for your help with, if you're able to, with this technical part, with placing non-board members in a waiting room.
I'm also going to be pausing the recording here.
Are now back. Our executive session has ended. We are back into a public open session, and we will be now voting on the grievances. So Jean, should I turn things over to you?
Yes, let's do that. And I will share the summaries. All right. Let me pull my chat up and then we'll go ahead and get started. So the first item is a grievance from Robert. 3 grievances were filed, the summary of which is that meeting minutes were missing from board meetings and general meetings between October 2019 and October 2020. The third grievance was that missing meeting minutes had not been provided to the East Portland Coalition. The ONI standards and bylaws cited as being violated were specifically the role of the secretary, as well as record retentions. So the committee findings include that we propose that there was a prior violation, since the meeting minutes are in fact missing from the LNA website from October 2019 to October 2020. We did want to mention that we were in a period of pandemic at that time, as well as the fact that the LNA current board is not an active violation of the bylaws. The secretary position is filled and actively serving in the role. The meeting minutes are currently being published in a timely manner, and that the LNA is actively pursuing the rectification of the missing meeting minutes. Additional committee recommendations. 1, request any meeting minutes that Robert Schultz has in his possession, since he had volunteered to take notes for several meetings in his service as the LNA Public Safety Board, per some prior board members. We would also recommend that we request any meeting minutes that Sarah Wines may still have in her possession when she was acting secretary during that period of time. We'd also like to provide some recommendations to ensure that all future meeting minutes are promptly approved and published so that this violation does not occur again. So specifically, we would like to recommend that in the absence of a secretary, the chair formally appoint a board member to take meeting minutes at that meeting. And we would like to note that the meeting minutes must comply with the LNA bylaws, which at minimum need to include a record of attendance, as well as the results of any votes and a summary of dissenting views. We would like to make sure that meeting minute files are accessible to the entire neighborhood association and board versus kind of squirreled away on individual hard drives. So our recommendation is to create a folder in the official LNA Gmail account as an archive of meeting minutes organized by meeting type and year for ease of access to the board and for viewing to the public. The precedent for this has been set and established by some other neighborhood associations, and we cite Brentwood Darlington as having an excellent folder formatting structure that makes it really easy to access historic documents. We also would like to recommend that the meeting minutes are published as PDF files to our website. This is beneficial because one, PDF files are more accessible than Word documents. For folks that don't have Word suites, you can open them on a browser, so more accessible to more people who would like to revisit notes. The PDF format eliminates writability after the meeting minutes have been approved, so there's no question about concerns there, as well as reduces document storage on our website. And finally, we recommend that we find and/or develop retroactive meeting minutes for the missing time period. Under the direction of the current secretary, that's actually started, and basically looking for support from multi-term board members to help find meeting minutes from past agendas and past members who have both meeting minutes, and there's some videos available as well. So developing those notes to make sure that there is a record. And the additional items on this are just the explanation that we're currently in compliance, as well as attachments, which were the grievances as provided by the grievant. So I would like to, call a vote to approve these findings for Robert's grievances regarding meeting minutes. So if you would like to approve these findings, please type your vote in the chat at this point in time.
I second your motion.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oops. Oh no. Okay. Excellent. Because we're short on time, we're going to keep moving right along. The next grievance.
Did we count the vote?
Oh, sorry, I forgot. That was my fault.
So, okay, where are we here? Yes.
So we have Katie, 1 yes. Nicole, 2nd yes. Gerald, yes. Morgan, yes. Jean, yes. Sabina, yes. Natalie, yes. So 7 approvals.
Okay.
The motion passes. Okay, excellent. The next one is Joanne. A summary of this grievance is that the LNA board has failed to respond to and address grievances in a timely fashion and in a manner outlined by the ONI standards and bylaws. This grievance was filed per the grievant in April of 2018. She cites specifically the procedure for consideration of approvals, non-discrimination, and the ONI Section 7 for grievance procedures for neighborhood associations. So we met with Joanne on February 4th to discuss her grievances. Basically, her concerns were about timeliness of response, consistent process for handling grievances among different grievees, as well as sort of the professionalism and how grievances were handled. She also refers to this grievance as part of an ongoing issue, despite having been raised in prior grievances. All right, so what we found after doing some work and reviewing these grievances and documentation was that the committee proposes that there was not a violation because in 2018, the LNA was using an alternate grievance process that was set in place at the time of this grievance per an agreement with ONI. We were able to review the LNA ONI agreement for large volume grievances, which was voted on in an executive session on May 30th, 2018. And the proposal was unanimous. The grievant also provided both the LNA board and EPNO appeals form that was submitted for the prior grievances that were flagged in this grievance. And so additional attachments that we reviewed in addition to the grievance as submitted by the petitioner was the LNA ONI agreement for large volume grievances, as well as the EPNO grievance committee appeals review for the grievances referred to here in the grievance. So I would like to motion to vote on the finding shown here for this grievance. Can I have someone, or can someone second this motion?
I second.
Who is that?
I seconded it. It's Katie.
Katie. All right. So if you vote in favor of approving this finding, please write so in the chat. All right, we have a yes from Sabina, a yes from Natalie, a yes from Katie, a yes from Jean, a yes from Gerald, a yes from Morgan, and a yes from Nicole. So that is 7 in favor. Oh, 8. Sorry, Jennifer. Oh my gosh, and I can't type. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, okay, beautiful. All right. Grievance number 15. The grievant was concerned by a lack of training and inexperience of board members, which is manifested by consistent and continuous disregard of the LNA bylaws and ONI standards. She cites 10 violation examples. We met with the grievant on February 4th, and that is what's detailed in this paragraph. So there are multiple, as I mentioned, there were 10 violation examples cited. These 10 violations had examples dated from 2016 to 2018, which again was attributed to generally a lack of training and inexperience caused by causing non-performance or overperformance in specific duties. The concerns here are generally around inconsistent and selective leadership, accountability, unprofessional behavior, and basically bylaws and conflict of interest. So I did provide table number 1, which we'll skim through quickly. Essentially, that has each of the violations, a description of the violation date as submitted by the petitioner in the grievance, as well as prior grievances that were referenced as part of that violation. So the finding of this grievance committee was that there were no violations found, and that proposal was unanimous. Specifically, unfortunately, training is not a requirement in the LNA bylaws or the ONI standards. That being said, as the officially recognized neighborhood association per the ONI standards, we are eligible for training benefits, which the LNA chair has actively and already reached out to the district coalition about making trainings available to the LNA board for this year. So we hear you, and I think everyone agrees that training is beneficial. So this is just a summary of the benefits of recognition, which specifically states that the district coalition that we are affiliated with should be able to provide support services when supported by the budget. While many of the violations cited were historic, we did want to make sure that we reviewed the current conduct of the board and felt comfortable with the fact that current board members are performing their duties in alignment with their roles and in accordance with the LNA bylaws. And we also felt that the petitioner explicitly brought up that a lot of these items were also included in prior grievances, and that those grievances had been addressed by historic boards as well as through appeal. So we felt, due to the timeline of events, that we could not really go back and investigate 2016, especially when there is a track record of both items being addressed as well as being appealed. So with that, again, this is grievance number 15, specifically regarding a lack of training of the board. We found that there was no procedural violation found. And I am going to call for a vote on these findings.
Second.
Excellent. So if you vote in support and agree with these, please type yes in the chat. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. For number 16, yes, 7 votes yes in support of the findings. So for grievance number 16, the grievant was concerned that an LNA board code of conduct, which per the grievant was approved in April of 2017, has not been implemented or signed by actually any board to date. They specifically cited basically a purpose of the organization and the bylaws, specific duties, conflict of interest, grievance and non-discrimination procedures, as well as the neighborhood association non-discrimination procedure and grievance appeal procedures. The grievant had a couple specific items in mind in terms of reviewing the code of conduct or motioning to rescind it, as well as potentially adding reference to a code of conduct into the bylaws. The findings from this committee, looking procedurally, was that there was not a violation since the code of conduct is not included in the LNA bylaws or ONI standards. The proposal from the committee was unanimous. As mentioned, I think, and recognized in one of the remedies sought comments, code of conduct forms are not specified or required per the LNA bylaws or ONI standards, so there could not be a violation in that regard. We did also, however, want to point out that a general membership code of conduct for meetings is in fact presented at the beginning of each of the general meetings, and is part of the agenda voted into service and implemented. So we reviewed the grievance as submitted by the grievant, the board, the code of conducts, as well as the meeting minutes from April 2017. So I am going to move to vote on the findings for this grievance.
A second.
Who is that?
Sabina.
And if you are in agreement with this finding, please vote in the chat. Three, 4, 5, 6. Did we lose somebody?
Jean,
Yes.
there was votes right after Sabina seconded verbally.
Oh,
So
okay.
you go above it when it was
Yep.
typed in. Yep.
3, 4,
Yeah, Nicole.
7, 8. Awesome. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. For the final, sorry, my screen is acting up. So for the final grievance, we have a board member who is specifically named. So due to conflict of interest, sorry, do I say this or you say this? You will recuse yourself from the vote. So in this particular grievance, The petitioner felt that she received inappropriate correspondence from the 2018 LNA chair, causing her a perception of being banned from LNA meetings and activities. She also expressed concern regarding a conflict of interest potentially between the LNA and EPCO at the time, unfair treatment and exclusive behavior. And she was also concerned about being discriminated against due to age. So violations cited include both ONI standards and LNI bylaws sections. This one is about the mission statement of the LNA, board positions, etc. Specifically, during our meeting with the grievance, she clarified that the banishment concern was due to an interpretation of an email with whom she assumed was communicating in a board capacity, not necessarily an individual capacity. Because of this, she felt banished and disenfranchised from the neighborhood organization. However, there was some litigation in which a judge had ruled there was still an existing path for engagement. We did also interview the person named in this specific grievance, and we're also made aware that per the City of Portland non-harassment policy at the direction of her supervisor and law enforcement, that was one of the reasons the communication got sent. So our finding was that there were no procedural violations that we could find evidence for of the ONI standards and bylaws. The proposal was unanimous. As an explanation, we were unable to find evidence of the grievance having actually been banned or discriminated against. That being said, we did want to recognize that communication, written or otherwise, is certainly interpreted differently by different people. So we wanted to highlight the current LNA policies in place that provide some direction in terms of communication. So we have a board communications agreement document that specifies who may respond in official capacity and that they must respond from the official LNA email. We have policies in place that essentially emails conveying official stances should be written from the official email, although individuals and board members may be copied, of course, to keep that in their personal records, and that any statements issued by the LNA board or the LNA membership as a whole are discussed and voted on prior to issuance, so that there must be a vote before things are published. So that basically summarizes the grievance finding and the explanation and clarifications regarding this grievance. So I would like to call to vote regarding this grievance if people agree with the findings in this document.
I second. This is Nicole.
So I just put that in the chat, so please vote. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7. So we have 7 yeses and 1 abstention due to being named in the grievance. And the motion carries. All right, thank you all for sticking with us for such a long meeting. I think these are really important to all of us. And I guess I'm just gonna, hopefully everyone on the grievance committee is okay with this. We appreciate your time, your energy in being part of this process, and also reviewing all the documentation so that we could have a really productive path forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Jean, and thank you everyone for your work and for staying late to work on these. And as far as next steps go, I believe our secretary will be helping us or if the grievance committee has so this is official communication that will be coming from the LNA Gmail account, where we will be sending these reports to the folks who filed their grievances, and they will be instructed on their next steps if they wish to take any, if they're unsatisfied with the findings. I think that concludes our meeting tonight, unless anyone has anything else to add. Our next meeting, I'll just announce them. We have our next general meeting on March 23rd, and our next board meeting will be on April 8th.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night, everyone.